and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
And me. Brys.
Yeah, officially known as me. Yeah, that's right. We're doing a triple whammy episode tonight where Brys has been filling in for us. He did such a good job, we decided to invite him on an actual full episode and go through this. And this is something that we've had long discussions about. This is going to be a great episode. I'm looking forward to it.
Wait, Brys, thank you. Did you have long discussions because inviting me on, or
we have considered the option?
Oh, okay.
No, we had long discussions about this specific topic, but we appreciate you for joining us. Are you excited to join us?
I am.
Good deal. All right, and then Daniel, you've been awfully quiet so far since our introduction. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Do you not see the screen now since, he decided to change his name in the intro?
Well, I didn't notice it.
I'm just going to start calling you number 2.
For anybody watching us on Twitch, I apologize. You're not going to be able to see that. It cuts off apparently at the very bottom, but his title is me.
And yours is Daniel 2, so I'm calling you number 2 now.
That's fine.
Hey, number 2.
I've known a lot of number 2s in my life, and let me tell you.
You're at the top of that list.
It's fine. I'm at the top of that list. Of all the number 2s in the world, I am number 1. So, no, this is a great episode. We wanted to talk about it. So the format's going to be a little different. Today, we're going to be having our normal Chits and Giggles episode. And we had the discussion of Insta-Buys. Now, why don't one of you explain what an Insta-Buy game is?
So the reason we came up with this topic is a group, when we get together, we always talk about like, hey, it's such and such person is an Insta-Buy, or is it a Kickstarter for Come On Game or Eric Lang game? Oh, it's an Insta-Buy for me. I'm going to back that Kickstarter regardless. And so we keep talking about that. I'm like, you know what? We should turn this into a podcast discussion.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I know I've had, now in the days with the world of Kickstarter, it's easy to fall into the trap of Insta-Buys. I'm curious to ask you guys, let's start with Brys, because I think you've done more game Kickstarters than either of us. And you say that begrudgingly. I
downright lie.
I know I've backed more Kickstarters, hands down, but I think you've backed more game Kickstarters, though.
Yeah, probably. I'm a sucker when it comes to that.
I only got like 41 games back, 40 games back, because one of them is a calendar.
Yeah, everything. I can give you the number if you want. It's going to take me a minute, but I can look it up.
Look it up during a lull in our conversation. Then,
okay.
Now, perfect timing.
No, I'm trying to stop doing the Kickstarter buy, just because you get the satisfaction of buying it, but then it takes so long, and then all your other friends are like, "Hey, look at all the games I bought." I'm like, "Oh, I can't do that because I just bought 3 Kickstarters that I'm not going to see for a year, maybe 2 or 3."
Yeah, I noticed that back before I started backing Kickstarters, I was really big into Kickstarter, or for board games, I was really into playing cards, decks of cards. I loved it. And they would normally turn those around pretty quick, like 3 or 4 months if they knew what they were doing. But yeah, board games, man, that's a whole nother delay. And I made the mistake of backing 2 video games too. I finally got them, and I backed them probably 2014, maybe.
Yeah, video game ones I always hear are tough.
Yeah, it's a tough
genre.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
All right, so let's talk about what our Insta-Buys are. But before we do that, we're going to start off. This is going to be an exciting episode. Well, I want to know what you guys have been playing. So let's start with Brys. Brys, what have you been playing lately?
So I got it off my shelf of shame with the wife, and I loved it. I wish I would have bought it sooner. Sushi Roll. Honestly, when I watched some of the reviews when it first came out, people are like, well, if you have one, you don't need both. They're both about the same. But I honestly think like the push your luck aspect on this gives it just a nice little flair to an already great game. And I like the aspect that you can steal from somebody with the chopsticks versus you can just take 2 cards, because that really is like a little of a take that mechanic that it's not too much of a dig, but it's at least enough like, haha, I know you needed this, but so did I. So, but that's my first game.
Very cool.
Do you want me to do my second game now, or you want me to?
We'll bring it around.
Okay.
We'll go back and forth. So Daniel seems to be having technical difficulties on his end. He's fighting with his computer. So I'll go next. I played a game called Super Mega Lucky Box, which sounds honestly awful. Like the first title, I mean, sure, it's supposed to be over the top. It's ridiculous. I'll tell you the 3 reasons why I bought this game. Bill Walker Harding. I bought that right after mine and Daniel's debate. And we debated Bill Walker Harding games. We're looking at his list on Board Game Geek, and I saw that immediately appeared and was already available on Amazon for purchase. So I bought it that day, got it shipped over, and I played it twice since then. It's neat. I like how it works. There's a 3x3 grid, and on this grid has the numbers 1 through 9. Some are in different orders. Some are on the top, like it might have like 2 1s or 3 5s or something like that. They're all kind of mixed up. And the idea of the game is you're trying to fill in these boxes. Well, it's a flip and write. So you have a deck of cards that is the numbers 1 through 9 twice, and you shuffle them up, and you only deal 9 of those cards. So at fewest you can have of any number is 0. The most you can have is 2. So you flip over a card, everybody marks off a number on one of their cards that they have in front of them, and you mark off accordingly. If you ever fill in a row or a column, at the end of those row or columns, they give you little bonuses. It either has something like a moon, which you get and you score at the end of the game, a star, which lets you score depending on the more stars you get in the round, bonus numbers, which lets you fill it in on other cards, or you might even get something like a question mark, which lets you fill in any number. There's a few more too on top of it, but it's really intriguing, and it's something that Phil Walker Harding does incredibly well. Is that he continues to have this like combo after combo after combo, where you see people have like a little bit of a lull. They're like, all right, I fill this in. All right, I fill this in, and now I'm taking a turn where I'm filling this in, which triggers this, which does this, which does this, and then I now have this combo, and then I filled in this card, which lets me do this, and then now I have this, and now I have 12 points. All of a sudden, it's super fun. It's completely over the top. It has that like 1970s game show style feel where everything is super bright, colorful, like in your face fonts, and no fonts are the same. It's worth a try. It's like $15 online. Totally worth it. And that's Super Mega Lucky Box.
Nice.
Yeah, I heard about this one and I want to try it. Yeah, me and Daniel were actually talking about it when I went over to his house a couple days ago.
I'll bring it by sometime.
Yeah, I was looking forward to trying it. So the first game I'm going to talk about that I got to play recently is an older game that I haven't played in a long while, but I just need a little filler game, busted this one out, and that is Monty Python Flux. Honestly, it's still my favorite Flux, just because I enjoy the humor from Monty Python, and it comes out in spades in this game, whether it's the Knights of Knee or the Killer Bunny and all the creepers that come out, or Lancelot's or Belvedere, whatever. But I wouldn't really call it a filler because it does play somewhat quickly, but Flux can last longer than you would expect for a card game. This can last about 45 minutes, and I think that's how long this gameplay was. But again, it was something I haven't played in quite a while, and it was nice to get to the table. I'm not going to harp too much about it because I think everybody's played some form of Flux one way or another. I just really prefer this one.
Yeah, this is a great theme of Flux out of all of them. I think my favorite now is Star Trek Flux. But one thing that the Monty Python thing has going for it is that movie is so incredibly quotable that it's impossible not to quote. But it's also one of the few games that I've seen on the box where it says from 5 to 120 minutes or something like that. I think one of the boxes said that at one point.
Yeah.
This game absolutely could be just a quick minute or your hours and hoping for the best.
I like Flux, and I like Monty Python, but I'm kind of fluxed out. That was one of the very first games that I had picked up, and like we bought the I don't know if it's the geek one or something, but it was like space theme or something, but we played the snot out of it. It was a great game. It just had its heyday.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
No,
That's one of the reasons why I hadn't played it for so long, and I finally busted out. I'm like, you know what? Haven't played this. Let's try it out. And yeah, no, I still really enjoy it.
yeah, I have too many copies of Flux. I want to say like 6 or 7, and I'm trying to figure out. I mean, at least you can combine them and it kind of works. Not really, but kinda. I like how they have like the bridge expansion between the 2 Star Trek ones. That makes a lot of sense. But
Oh yeah,
at the same time, I like the math flux is actually really fun. That's one I highly suggest if anybody gets into it.
I've been looking at that one just for when the kids get a little bit older, we can play a game and do math at the same time. I think there's a science one too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
Chemistry flux.
all right. So my other game that I've been playing, I shouldn't say a lot. We had a night for a friend. Was Mafia, and my wife made fun of me because I went and bought this that night. I picked this up at Barnes and Noble, and the artwork on this thing is stunning. But I always like games like this. It was fun to actually do it again since we haven't done it in a couple of years just because of COVID and everything. But the artwork on this is, like I said, really stunning. The cards are really big, which makes it a little tougher to hide it, but it gives you your role and everything on there. So, but that's what I've been playing as Mafia or Werewolf if you like Werewolf, which I'm probably going to pick up one of those decks as well.
Yeah, that was good fun. Spoiler, I was there. I did appreciate that first game. Our mutual friend who had never played Mafia or Werewolf at plain vanilla ever before was the first to die. So
I felt so bad.
yeah, and you saw me too, like, and so I was one of the Mafia that turn, and I knew that was his first game, and I know you saw it because you were the moderator, and I was like, "Who are you guys gonna kill?" And everybody else pointed to him, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sorry," because it wouldn't have mattered whether I voted or not at that point, but I did feel a little bit like a jerk.
He's lying. He actually picked him first.
No, I, although it was obviously funny that I was Mafia first.
well, that's the
And
running gag. If someone's a traitor or mafia or something bad, it's you.
yeah, apparently. And the fact it wasn't just me, it was my entire family. It was my wife and my son. Everybody in my Mafia house that was playing in that game were all murderers that game.
Except for your daughter. At least now I know who to trust.
And that's only because she wasn't playing.
I know. But still, when she did play, because I think your wife was Mafia pretty much most of the night, wasn't she?
She was every game, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I died the second one when I wasn't.
Yeah, I actually missed out on that because we had to leave early because my wife was on call and had to work the next morning. So sad I missed it.
Good deal. Well, good pick, Brys. The other game that I've been playing lately is a game called Snakes. And that's because it has 3 S's at the end of it, which honestly,
Right.
I hate it. No, it really does. And so if you're looking at a Board Game Geek, it's Snakes.
Oh no, I'm saying you said you played it because of 3 S's behind it. That's what I'm calling you out.
Oh no, that's not why I played it. I played it for 3 reasons. You ready? Say it with me, Daniel. I know you know why. Phil
Walker Harding.
Which doesn't look like a Phil Walker Harding game, but once again, as soon as I found out that it was, and that was at Target, well, duh, I'm gonna go buy it. So I went and bought it, and it's like trivia meets werewolf, which makes no sense at first. But essentially, some of the players, let's say in our 7-player game, 3 of us were snakes, 1 was the mongoose of truth, and the other 3 were ordinary humans. You mix up these secret roles, everybody looks at theirs. All of the snakes are trying to get everybody to guess the answer wrong. And it's like some weird obscure question like, what are sharks known to be attracted to? Cuddling, soy sauce, or heavy metal music? Like, why would anybody know this, right? They're just really bizarre questions like this. And at the beginning of the game, everybody closes their eyes, and then you flip over the card, and only snakes are allowed to see the answer. So they all know the answer, and they're trying to convince everybody else that the answer or the wrong answer to go with. And all you do is simply then flip the card over, open your eyes, then discuss for 2 minutes, and then everybody makes a vote. Anybody who gets the answer right gets 1 point for every person, including themselves, who gets the answer right. So if us three were playing, and Daniel, you and I got the answer right, we'd each get 2 points. But the snakes get 1 point for every player who gets it wrong. They're not allowed to actually guess in the mix. The Mongoose of Truth is the only role that everybody knows is being honest at all times, and you can kind of play off of them too, because then you know they're not a snake because they're revealed. They know that they're the Mongoose of Truth. So if you look at them, you're like, what do you think it is? Oh, well, it's definitely soy sauce. Yeah, you're probably right. And then you play off of that, and you convince everybody else that it's the wrong answer. It's so brilliant. It works incredibly well, and man, did it go over well.
What's the player count on this one?
4 to 8 players.
Okay, so it requires 4 or more. Okay.
Minimum 4, yeah.
Well,
And
it's a
that's
party
because-
game.
Yeah, and I saw it because I went and picked up Summer Camp,
Mhm.
and I saw it because I need to go. I want to get that, and I need to pick up the Terraforming Mars game. But I looked at it and I was like,
Summer Camp.
Summer Camp.
Bill, Walker, Hardy.
3 reasons to buy it. Right?
Here, if we're doing that, this is also a Phil Walker Hardy game right here.
Walker, Hardy.
I feel like you should be throwing in swears when you do that, like Phil, and like just
yeah,
exactly.
Those are the censored versions. I wish I had my soundscape. We'll see.
All right, so let's just go ahead and finish this off with my last game here that I'm going to talk about. And this was an interesting one because I actually got to play this at our local game store in their first night back at being open to the public and having a game night. And this game is After the Empire by Gray Fox Games. And I have to say, I need to play it again to see how I truly feel about this game, but it's a good worker placement tower defense game. I had a good time playing with it. It was a little bit much for a first-time playthrough. I mean, we basically just played this one game the entire night because we were trying to figure it out the whole night. So it was good. It's well produced. It's a phenomenally produced game. Played over different phases. The combat phase itself. So the first phase is basically your worker placement phase. So you're putting your workers out. And you're trying to gather your resources to upgrade your castle, your personal castle, before the invading armies come in. And it slowly builds up as the armies are getting more and more between each round. It's played only in 7 rounds, really. And the combat phase took the longest to comprehend because just like how we have the different phases that we got to go through, there's actual different phases in the combat. So this triggers, then this triggers, then this triggers, then this triggers. Okay, everything's done. All right, let's do it all over again. This triggers until all the invading armies are defeated. And it took a little bit just to figure out the first 2 or 3 combats. It took us to figure out once it got going. Once we got into the later rounds, we're like, okay, boom, 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 this gets destroyed, boom, 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 we're invaded, okay, doing all this. And it was good. I enjoyed it. I don't know how much I would like it or if I would go out of my way to buy it. That's saying something because worker placement is one of my favorite mechanisms. But I think it was too much moving parts for something as simple as it really was when you get down to it.
Yeah, that sounds intriguing.
This is our friend Dom's game, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was trying like, which game are you talking about? But then, okay.
It's good. I had a good time playing it with, like I said, but there was just a lot of moving parts and trying to remember every step and every phase. Like the worker placement part, I figured out. I'm like, okay, I go here, I get this, I get that. Simple. It's the combat phase, and then the fact that that part is like real time. So it's happening to me, it's happening to them. And then we're trying to figure out where these armies are coming in, because some people are on the other side of the table. So if you're upside down and they're supposed to feed a certain way, am I mirrored to what they're doing? So if it's coming into their west, it's coming into my west as well, but it's a different side, the way the card is pointing. So we ended up changing it where it's like what your viewpoint is. If the red is on your right-hand side, then it's coming on the right. If it's red is to your left-hand side, then it's coming onto your left. So it got a little finicky in that part. So I think next time, if we just keep with that rule, I think I'll have a better time with it. But there's a lot of moving parts in this one.
That was a Kickstarter too, yeah, wasn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it's one of their more recent Kickstarters. I think it actually hit around the same time or just after Yumi Full Moon Down did, and that's barely starting.
Okay. I bet you're excited.
Oh yeah, I just got the notice that it's going to be shipping soon. So
staring at I got a shipping notification for I think a Kickstarter, but I don't know. It doesn't say where it's coming from. It's on UPS, and I'm like, what do I do with this? Like, I mean, I'll anxiously watch it, but like, what if it's like a bag of dog poop for all I know? I don't know what it is.
Well, I'm in a weird state right now where like I was supposed to have like a bunch of Kickstarters that are coming in, but I'm between two addresses. So I'm like, I'm still at this place, but we have that new address going on. I still got to go to the post office to try to get the keys to the new address. So it's just a pain in the butt right now.
Oh, that stinks. Yeah, I remember doing that when we switched our addresses. So I was also going to make a Danny number 2 joke about games. Did you ship yourself your own games?
So interesting story. Now that you bring it on, these guys give me trouble every time about this. But I got to show something off. This is brand new. I haven't shown anybody else yet. Well, with the exception of a couple people, but I got to share this with you because these guys know what it is, and I'm going to share it with my viewers here.
Let me black out the screen real quick.
Yep, it is the new edition of Hit Me.
I was joking when I said that.
I know. And that's the thing. This is the brand new edition, brand new art.
Oh, okay.
Plays 2 to 6 players.
He actually
now.
paid an artist.
Yep. Let's take a look at these. Look at these cards. These are gorgeous. I mean, look at the sidekick. Look at that guy.
Okay. Okay, I can get behind that.
Yep. Let me show you like some of these other guys here. So obviously all the cards have different color combinations. There's another sidekick there. I want to find a trap. Those are pretty fantastic. Oh, there's my potions. There we go. Oh, this is really hard to do mirrored like this. There's the potions that magically heal you. Then there is the trap, which is absolutely amazing with free cheese.
It looks like a mouser.
Yeah, a little bit. It was inspired by it. But the best part about these is this game now comes with 13, maybe even more, we haven't decided, characters, all with brand new art. Got to show you guys these. We got Blue Stealer, Copperman, Boll Weevil, Crunch Morris, Necromonica.
Sorry for our audio listeners. So you just go to your YouTube channel and check these out.
Yeah. Go just real quick. We'll get another view this way. Commander Kokomo, Amazonia, Angermang. Let me zoom into Angermang. Feel the intensity of that. That's beautiful. All right. Then we have Lighthouse, Beefy Dude, Wichidija, and Bull Hockey. I think he is. Nope, he's not my last one. I want to show off the little rabbits that my artist added in there. The bunny rabbits have hockey sticks.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool and all, but it's not a swamp rabbit.
Huh?
It's not a swamp rabbit.
No, it's not. But hey, I mean, considering this now plays up to 6 characters or players at a time, you know, it comes in like this nice box. It's good quality condition, good art. Loving it.
So, when and where can you pick that up?
That is a wonderful question. I'm glad you asked. There is no definite time frame yet. I'm still debating whether I want to do a Kickstarter or just try and bring it straight to retail. So we'll be making an announcement, I'm sure, when that is available.
When you do, let me know. I can put it on TikTok for you if you want.
Yes, please. That would be wonderful. And you heard it. You all heard it here live. I certainly appreciate that, Brys. And now we are being counted down. I just noticed that right now. I'll take a quick minute break here in a few moments, but I wanted to share that with you. I thought that was fantastic.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it looks really fantastic. There was one person who I did give a copy of this to, and he was very much involved in the development of this game. You guys know it's a mutual friend of ours. He had no idea that I was working on this at all. Zero idea whatsoever. So I showed up at his place the other day and just went, "Hey, I got a surprise for you. Just so you know, here you go. This is the only copy, one of 4 copies that exist in the world right now." And he was like, "No kidding." So I think it was played quite a bit that night. That's probably the first copy of that new version. The old versions are still available online on the Game Crafter, but for now, that should be coming soon. So we'll see. I'm excited. But now we're ready to get into our list. So today we're talking about something very straightforward. It's a thing that we've coined as Insta-Buy games. What are some of those publishers, designers, artists, mechanisms, themes? Is there any other things like table presence, how it's released? Like, will you buy everything from your local game store? You know, whatever the category may be, what if when you hear it and you say, okay, I gotta go buy it, what is that for you? So we asked that question on our Facebook group, or not on our Facebook group, specifically the Board Game Revolution community on Facebook, which we got to give a shout out to them. They host a lot of good content, and we post our questions quite often there. And man, did we get a response this time.
I think this is one of the ones that have the most comments we've ever placed for a discussion topic.
Yeah.
I think last I checked was 62.
62 is what I have as well. And this has only been up since yesterday. So we definitely struck a note with people, and we are going to be reading through these and making our comments on it. Brys, our special guest, take it away.
So the first one is, let's say the names.
First name.
We go by first name.
Okay. Harrison says, to be honest, most of my purchases are pretty well thought out right now. The games I'm most inclined to purchase through the narrative-based solo games. Think like Hunter's AD, Tainted Grail. So pretty much what he's saying is if it has a good solo presence to it, he's going for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely like raises an eyebrow. It's like, oh, it has that, huh? Might not be an instant buy for him, but I guess that's definitely a trigger, if you will. Daniel, take it away.
All right. So next up here is Alex. I have no such thing. Designers and companies are infallible, and I can't afford to waste money. Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris said, I have only been in the hobby for a year and a half, so my knowledge and library of games are not as deep as others. However, Isle of Cats is one of our favorite games. When I heard they were coming out with expansions, I pretty much knew I was going to get them before hearing anything else about them.
Fair enough.
Wow, I always get weird names. Tiago? I don't think I have any Insta-Buys. I really like Feld, Pfister, Stonemeyer games, but I'm very far from buying everything they release just because they're my favorite designers or publishers. Even though these people have a good chance of releasing games, I'll like it. I don't Insta-buy anything without studying it before. Some with any other designers, or same with any other designers or publishers.
Oh man, we have a lot of very reasonable commenters. I say,
right?
live in now. Take a risk. Let's see what happens.
Alper said,
go ahead, Daniel.
Alper says, Chip Dairy Games is a very good reason to buy it. apart from that, there are some bloggers and YouTubers that I know have a very similar taste to mine. So if I like what I see, hear the positive words, and have time to play it and the money to afford it, I'm going to buy it. And that's something that didn't make my list. But yeah, the influencers, if you have familiar taste with them, fine. If you like the games they like it, they're going to be the ones that tell you, hey, go check this one out.
Yeah, that's a really good point that I didn't even think about. And now thinking about it, I know that there are certainly. I've spent time studying like the top 100s of each of like the influencers, like the Board Game Geek and the guys from the Dice Tower and all those. And I can't help but think it's like, man, I share a lot of similarities to some of these guys. If they give me a suggestion saying, "Oh, I love the game for this reason," I'm probably going to check it out.
Yeah,
That's a really solid point.
yeah.
Very cool. Jimmy says nothing is an Insta-Buy for me without at least a bit of research. However, there are a few things that will automatically draw my interest, which is exactly what we're talking about. Perfect. Said producer, Chip Theory Games. Designer, Feld or Lacerda. And system, Aeon's End. I completely agree with that. I have been very intrigued by Chip Theory Games. I've only ever owned one game from them, and I wasn't thrilled with it, so that's put me off. But man, their quality is beyond most.
Dan,
Represent.
what it's worth, I don't. Oh, sorry, my bad.
Oh yeah, so Brys, just so you know, whenever there's a Dan or a Daniel or a Danny that posts in our comment, they're representing. Go on, you can do the same if there's a Brys.
Yeah, that's never gonna happen.
All right, go ahead, Brys.
Oh, I can go? Okay,
Yeah.
It's time. For what it's worth, I don't typically Insta-Buy. I usually wait months or years before I get a game. That said, I count Arkwright, the card game, as an Insta-Buy for me. I've been pining over Arkwright for a long time, but I haven't gotten it because it has no solo mode. When I learned that the new card game version had a great solo mode, I felt it was a no-brainer for me. I realized the card game is much streamlined compared to the original game, but I'll take it.
Very cool. Good deal. That's a good reason too.
Yeah, and up next here, Alex says he has nothing to do with the game and everything to do with whether I'm in the mindset that mistakes spending money for therapy.
Michael, he says, it finally gives us a straight answer. I'm finally excited for this. Michael says, Clank, Twilight Imperium 4, Lorenzo Il Magnifico, anything Genius Games, Memoir 44, Black Rose Wars, Energy Empire, I have a problem. Is what he said. Not myself. But finally we got some straight answers, and that's a perfect example. Anything from Genius Games. If he sees it, he's in.
Tim, everything from Mind Clash Games.
I can attest to that. You and I are the only two owners of Mind Clash Games, I think, here in Anachrony is Mind Clash.
Yeah.
Yep. And I own Tricurion, one of their others.
Alrighty, so Craig says, I generally don't have an instant for any game or designer. We have a few Stonemeyer, Juve, Turkski games, but I never buy just one of their games just because it's them. Now, expansions, however.
Tommy says, Terraforming Mars. We have every expansion, bought an upgrade insert gamer tray, backed Ares Expedition on Kickstarter, looking forward to the dice version later this year. Just so much fun. Also my wife's #1 game, so that helps. There's a dice game version of it coming up?
This is the first I heard of it.
Yeah, there's supposed to be like want to say it's like a roll and write, but I could be wrong. I remember when they brought out the card game, there was talk about them doing a dice game later in the same year. So I think it'll be like Q4 is when that comes out. I think it's going to be a Kickstarter too.
Sounds about right with them.
Okay. Yep.
So
hey, milk it. Absolutely.
If you got an evergreen, you got to milk it hard. Get all the money you can out of it.
Absolutely.
Justin said Spirit Island will Insta-Buy an expansion that comes out for that.
Michael follows that up with Dominion expansions.
You know what? I can't believe I didn't think of that earlier. But that would be on my short list, Dominion expansions, because I do own all of them and I am gonna own all of them. So whenever the next one comes out, it's gonna be mine. Noah says none. That's fine.
And that's Nora.
Steve
not
said Nora, yeah. Steve.
Oh, sorry.
Steve said Antipia Games have always hit the mark for me as a company. Ryan Lockett, Frank West, and Mike. I don't know how to say that. Nade as designer.
Jamie follows that up with saying, "I'll buy anything from Garfield Games."
You know, it's funny. I'm actually gonna go back into some of these because I've never heard of Garfield Games. Not to say.
Yeah, you have Architects of the West Kingdom, Raiders of the North Sea.
Oh, never mind. Yep, I have. Okay, sorry. It's always because I know Garfield is then. I know the logo now, but it always comes up with what is it? Not Restoration, but
Renegade.
Renegade. So I think Renegade. I don't think Garfield.
Very cool. Dina says clients. I always back their games because I want them in my collection. In addition to that, my Insta-Buys last year were the Neverland one. I saw the hero image and just backed, never looked at the campaign page. Solani and the girl who made the stars because I love the origin stories and folklore and mythos. Oganika, yeah, because tile placements, high chance of me picking up something that also got tiles. I've never heard of Oganika. I've heard of Okanagan, which is a tile placement game, and I wonder if that was similar. But anyway, sounds interesting.
Bryce, go ahead.
I'm trying to Lucas. We're gonna go with Lucas. There's a lot of tildes and signs on there. None.
David says expansions for Wingspan, 51st Date, and a few other games I like. Outside of that, I tend to be fairly picky as I don't tend to like all the games a publisher or designers have put out. I like Paladins of the West Kingdom, for example, although none of the other ones appeal to me. I like quite a few Cthulhu games, yet a new release has to be of interest to me. King Domino Pioneers does, although several others haven't appealed to me. I used to get several games from one designer, yet recently I've realized I'm not as into their games as I used to be.
Very cool. Tony says these publishers always get a good look. Daily Magic Games, Garfield Games, and Queen Games English.
Tyler says Peterson Games or Bag Builder.
And I think that's our first mechanism other than the tile placement, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And so Will commented on his own comment, so I'm going to say both here. This is completely alien to me, a pattern of logic that only honest answer is none. It's weird to me that people even think that way in connection with board games.
Yeah. I mean, I get his reasoning, but there's games that I want to buy. So I disagree for that reason. But I totally agree.
It always makes it interesting when people make comments like this. So when they play games, I don't know, and I'm not going off of anything on that, but don't you want to find out like who made the game to see like, does that make sense? I don't know. And maybe that's just how I am. Like when I play a game, if I like something, I'm like, oh man, this was amazing. Who made this? And then I start finding like, I have several games from that person. I'm now going to just start buying that game when, like, if he makes a game or she makes a game, boom, it's done.
No.
Well, I get it.
Yeah. It's the same with all mediums, really. I mean, I'm sure there's movies, everybody who's seen all of the Star Wars or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's the same idea. Or like in books, authors or themes that people like, or people who buy like the stacks of romance novels because they like those, there's all kinds of different versions of this. But yeah, that's interesting that they just don't understand. But maybe they're more selective than we are, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that.
It's just funny because it's interesting that he finds us having that, but it's interesting to find out that there's people who don't think like that at all. Like he's like, I don't, and I'm just like, that's weird to like in my head, like how is that possible?
Yeah. Hey, well, they maybe they're one of the people who just show up to the game nights and they don't bring their own games. Or it's like I'm willing to play whatever. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Could be.
All right, moving on with Kirk.
Yeah, am I up?
Yep.
Let's hear. Kirk says Van Ryder games because I know it's going to be a good solo experience. That's one thing they specialize. Their focus is either full solo games or solo able games.
You're up, Brys.
Yep. All right, Andrew. Virtual. Oh, I know what.
Vita Lacerda.
If he is the designer, it is a 95% chance I will like it. I have only not liked Lisboa and still haven't played Escape Plan or Gallerist yet. The Gallerist, I think, is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've yet to play a Lacerda game.
Yeah, same here. It doesn't seem like one I would like because I like Streamline in my Euros, personally.
All right, so Jack answers, Arkham series from Fantasy Flight Games is always going to get my attention.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm with him on that.
Mitchell. Yeah, Mitchell says Orange Nebula is an instant buyback for me. Their games are awesome. The community even better. And I don't. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people.
I'm not even familiar with Orange Nebula. Does anybody know any of their games?
Yeah, their big one is Vindication.
Okay.
That game came out when we went to Dice Tower Con, the very first Dice Tower Con West.
The Dice Tower West.
Yes, Dice Tower West.
Huh. All right, so Brys, you're up.
Do you want me to skip all the comments leading to that? Yep, Simon. Simon says Roxley Games. Libertar. Yeah,
Laboratory.
because Laboratory. Oh, it's all okay. Feel the premium in quality, plus the crew is awesome and helpful. Never disappoints. I will agree with you on that.
Yeah,
Roxley Games is amazing. Now I don't own all of their games, but I own quite a few.
Yeah, no, they're well produced too. They're really good. I just recently got rid of one of theirs, but I still have Santorini.
I'm really looking forward to getting the new Santorini, the New York one. That one looks
Santorini, New York, worst title ever.
You know that's at Barnes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I saw it there the other day, and
I was this close from buying it the other day. I was like, "Ooh, I should get that one."
You should. Right, I would love to play it with you.
I think we can all agree with this next comment. David, I used to have Insta-Buys, i.e. anything failed. Then I got married.
Yep.
Ain't that the truth?
Yep. All right, and then he clarifies it, but it's less funny. Anyway, V-Day says, I'm fine automatically purchasing expansions to games I have already proven their worth to me, just to augment content I already like. But no criteria will be enough to make me buy a new game blindly. Interesting.
Oh,
John,
man, we still have a lot of comments.
John said, board games are too expensive for me to buy one without thinking over and reading reviews first.
Fair enough. Michael says Stonemaier games in. So was that?
Nothing.
Michael says Stonemaier games and Game Brewer are both Insta-Buys for me. At least they have been. I still look at each game to see if it's something that interests me, but I've loved pretty much all their games.
I have a feeling we'll be hearing about some of this later. Anyway, Mike says Prospero Hall is essentially instant buy for me. They're owned by Funko. I have all or so I have to check each Funko game as well. Ravensburger also publishes their stuff sometimes. So if I do my research and they're behind it, I usually buy it.
No comment.
That counts because that straight up counts because I mean, literally, it doesn't matter as long as it's got Prospero Hall.
Yep,
he gets it.
No comment. Brys, you're up.
Erica is. I'm sorry, I got lost in the deal. Erica is Mind Crash for sure. The only thing that I check is to see if it's co-op, only because we don't play those.
fair enough.
That's reasonable.
Huh.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Michael follows that up with Knizia or Stonemeyer or Stegmeyer. Sorry.
Yeah, I have a feeling. No. All right. Yarno says pretty much. I apologize if I said your name wrong. Says pretty much anything Discworld related. Game wise, I wouldn't know. See, he's talking about that extra medium that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Brett, if Orange Nebula and John D. Clare designed a card crafting game together.
Now, see, I like that idea where he's combining, okay, this company with this designer, it's an Insta-Buy for me.
Oh yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that either. That's good.
Yeah. That's a really solid idea. And of course, we're a little biased too, Daniel and I, because John DeClaire is a friend of the podcast. Represent. Okay, I believe it's Daniel's turn.
My bad. Mandy says, it's not necessarily one specific thing, but an overall package of good art, a publisher or designer I trust, and gameplay that sounds intriguing.
Good deal. Richard says Elf Creek Games. I'm anxiously awaiting the launch of Paradox Initiative on July 27th, which I plan to make my last Kickstarter back of 2020. You know, I almost wonder if he's involved in the production of that, because that seems a little spot on, doesn't it?
All I know is that makes me want to go look at it on July 27th and make it one of my Kickstarter backings for this year.
Right, exactly. And it's hard to counteract that. You know, he said the exact date. We got to put it in our calendars now.
Yep.
Brys, you're up.
Yep. Sorry. Jim, theme plus art, mechanisms, complexity, designer, cost, in that order.
Good deal.
That's fair. Craig says Corey Konecki designed games. So I bet you he's all into detective right now.
Oh, I believe it. Wait, detective or the initiative?
Oh, the initiative, sorry. It just has a face of a detective on the cover.
Yeah, exactly. Kenny says none. Your track record may make me look closer at the game, but nothing is going to get me to buy it other than researching the mechanics and how it plays.
Roger. Anything Orange Nebula.
And this one is for you two by Patrick. Tiny Epic from Gameland Games. You don't even need to tell me what the game is. Just let me know they have a Kickstarter and I'm in.
that Tiny Epic's actually on my short list. It's not on my list, but it's on my short list.
Because it's tiny.
It's tiny.
It's on the tiny list.
Yeah.
Veronica says heavy sales, although it's not quite Insta. I'll take a quick look at BGG to see if it's likely to be worth the paper its rule book is printed on. Interesting.
None. Fabian, none. Even Matt Gritted, Pfister, and Rothensberg are being tested before buying.
It's not fair that you got all the complicated designer names. I apologize.
He got all the European names.
Yeah.
Every time.
Like
Every time.
letters are silent. Come on. Who says Fister starting with a P? What are you, a pterodactyl or something? Anyway, go ahead.
Tom says, I'm basically a sure bet on anything Mind Clash games. I don't know if that's 4 games or IV games or Keymaster games.
Interesting. Pedro says, I hear leader and I'm in.
Lynn, I've encountered games I've considered duds for every game manufacturer. The only Insta-Buy for me are expansions to games I already have and love and want more of. It still counts. I mean, we didn't specifically say brand new games. Like, it was anything that's an Insta-Buy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Rick says Roxley Game Laboratory, Wise Wizard Games, formerly known as White Wizard Games, Skybound Tabletop, and Dice Throne.
Yep. Dave says things that come in a box.
Sean says, I like a good story, cool IP, Shadowrun, Battletech, things like that.
Cool.
Kellen says designer.
They're designer games, huh? Ryan, he says if Chip Theory Games is involved, I'll aggressively throw my money at them. I love the way they say that. Shut up and take my money.
Galen, interesting, unique mechanisms. I like diverse gameplay, not just diverse theme.
Marcella, anything from Tiny Epic Games.
2 for the Tiny Epic line.
That's right. And now 3 for Mind Clash. Anton says Mind Clash and David Turksey. Vita Lacerda is pretty up there too.
I think that's Aisha.
Aisha, okay. Fallout 76 was the last turn. I will never buy early again and always wait for reviews now before buying. Hey, so this is a good question. I'm sorry to break this up. Do you guys have a game that you can think off the top of your head that you bought instantly and regretted?
Ghostbusters.
See, that's what I have. I have Ghostbusters too.
You mean regretted it after the first play?
Yes.
Like, after playing it, you're like, I should have done a little bit more research.
Yes. I'm sure I've done plenty of those. I will think and I will get back to you. But yeah.
Was it Hit Me?
Ouch.
I'm sorry. I had to.
No, there was a few of those where I bought it and then instantly got rid of it almost immediately. I forget which ones, but I know there's been a few. The next one. Go ahead, Daniel.
Kristen, artist 2. I am a visual person. In my case, it's theme, designer, artist. Space themes are no unless the rest is really convincing. Gaia Project is near perfect game in terms of mechanisms, so yes.
Evan says, if it is a Vita Lacerda game, it's almost guaranteed to be an Insta-Buy for me.
Craig, anything from Keymaster Games? What's a Keymaster game?
I believe they make Parks and Trails.
Yeah, I was going to say Parks and Trails, I think it's Keymaster.
Okay.
I don't know what they did before that, though.
And Craig also says, I don't expect them to make another, but the expansion to Canvas was an insta-back for me.
Good deal.
Okay.
All right. And with that reaches the end of our comments.
Mic drop.
Seriously, thanks to everybody who made comments, except for anybody who said none. That's shameful. No, I'm just kidding. We appreciate you. We really do. They brought up some really interesting points too. There was more people who wanted to voice the fact that they didn't have Insta-Buys because they liked their research before it. And I feel like that was, at first, this was a little tricky for me because I put one down, and when I came up with a fifth one, it actually got bumped off because if it says this, and I'm going to say it right now, it's kind of like an honorable mention. If it says Legacy on it, I'm very interested. But I haven't bought every Legacy, and there's been some where I'm like, I probably won't like it that much.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I'm going to research. If it says Legacy on the box, I'm I want to hear about it.
Fair enough. Yeah. There was some stuff that I had to think about for a while, like Simon Games was on my list, and a few others. But I'm happy with the 5 that I have.
Absolutely.
And I can honestly say, I mean, I agree with some of the things where, like, well, I do a little bit more research. I still research it a little bit, but it's gonna be coming home whether I like it or not. So
Yeah, no, we'll talk about some of the games that are on my list that it's just instant, really.
And speaking of our list, we're going to get into it now. Gentlemen, how are we going to decide who goes first?
You got the Coin of Doom?
Coins don't have 3 sides, Daniel. Might I remind you?
I feel like you guys rehearsed this before I showed up.
No,
I'm not gonna lie. That's what it felt like.
this is actually how we roll. But I'm sure I have a D6 somewhere around here. Speaking
I
of
got a
rolling,
D6.
yes,
I got a D6 right here. Oh, you got
all right,
it?
so do I. Yeah.
All right.
So
rolling.
Mike, go ahead. Serenade us. Yep. We can get find on YouTube.
That's all I got. That's all.
So if it's a 1 or 2, it'll be Brys. 2, 3 or 4, Daniel. 5 or 6 will be myself.
See, he gives himself the high numbers. See how highly he thinks of himself.
That's true. And Daniel, you'll be going first.
All right. So for my first one here, of my Insta-Buys, this is my cheekiest pick, really, because I don't own all of these, but they're always going to pique my interest, and that's worker placement games. It's my favorite mechanism. It's something that's going to be like top of my list. If it's got a theme that follows through suit, yeah, I'm in it. Like I said, add a theme that I'll really enjoy, I'll buy it. Add a designer I really enjoy, I'll buy it. Heck, my most recent worker placement that I bought that I can think of is Fallout Shelter. I love the app. The board game itself is so much better than the app, and it's because it's worker placement. So yeah, my first Insta-Buy would be a worker placement game.
Good deal. All right, I'll go ahead and go next. But real quick, Creative Chaos said, and this comment is for you, Brys. She said, I can say that they are legit usually like this usually.
Oh, I know. I know. And it gets worse when we play games together.
Yeah, yeah, it does. So my number one, the first one, or I guess number 5, if we're counting out at least like it, is Gamelin Games. And I say that specifically because if it's in the Tiny Epic series, I will almost definitely get it. And if Gamelin releases it, I will look into it. Definitely Tiny Epics though, but Gamelin Games as a whole, they've made some pretty good stuff. They've only done a couple forays outside of the Tiny Epic series, one of which I did not like much, one of which I have a copy of and I've never played it. So that's like the Dragon Island remake or whatever it is.
What's the one that you didn't like?
Let's go ahead and continue on to you, Brys. Don't worry about it.
Because I know what it is, and that's why we don't play it anymore.
No, that's not why we don't play it anymore. I can't control why you don't play it anymore.
Well, I only play with you guys. That's not a game my wife's gonna play. I'm just saying.
I'll second her on that one.
So mine is restoration games. The only one I don't have, and I don't own it only on principle because you guys have it. It's one of those that it's a 2-player game, and I would only be playing it with you. So why should I have a copy here when you can bring your copy over? But anything restoration does, it's an instant buy. And I don't want to say I was burned on it, but the trick taking game just really wasn't for me. So I did get rid of it. But everything else, like I have Stop Thief, Fireball Island. I have the new what is it? Return to Dark Tower on the way at some point in my life. So, but restoration games is an Insta-Buy for me.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. I was very close to backing Return to the Dark Tower because I think I'm one of the few people that actually owned the original one here in town anyway, and it never worked for me. I got it used, and I could never figure out how the contraption worked, and it was a pain. And I was so excited to play it, but it just fell into nothingness because of that. So I was pretty excited to try the new one.
Do you still have it?
No,
I could have tried fixing it.
you probably could have. No, I got some good trade credit for it, so it was worth it for me trading.
Oh yeah, that's a very expensive game nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
You could have turned around and sold that for even not working, sold it for a pretty good price.
Yep. And I traded in for a good price, so I'm okay with that.
All right, so my number 4 game here is actually a universe, and this specifically is a generic fantasy universe, but I've loved every single game that's been put into this universe, and that's Role Player. It has a name for it. I can't for the life of me remember it for some reason, but anything attached to it is an Insta-Buy for me. I have Cartographers, I have Lockup, of course, Role Player, all the expansions, or the expansions coming in. Not to mention the fact that I'm also waiting on Role Player Adventures to come in that kind of feeds Role Player itself feeds into. So for me, this is one of my favorite games. I have a great time playing it. I've talked about it a lot on this podcast. And so yeah, Instant Buy anything. I just recently backed the Lockup expansion that just came up on Kickstarter back in May. So that right there was one of the first things that popped in my head to show up on this list, and that's the Role Player Universe games.
Good. And our friend Ithri is joining us. Ithri, welcome back. We're continuing forever. He said a Role Player Tale is the name of the series. All right, my next one. I think this is the first one that's not a theme mechanism. It's an award. And I think as soon as I say that, Daniel immediately knows what it is. And in fact, it's so much to the point of an Insta-Buy that I'm going to buy it that I have every single one that won this award. And I've already bought 2 of the 3 nominees so far, and it gets announced this upcoming Monday. I'm edging my bets. I'm hoping one of them is the winner because the other one's only in German, and I'm probably still going to buy it anyway. And that's Spiel des Jahres winners, hands down. If it wins the Spiel des Jahres, I was going to buy it. I did buy it, and so far I've had really good luck with them. There's been a couple duds in it, like Quirkle. I just can't play it because I'm colorblind. Dixit, I really don't like Dixit. But other than that, most of them have been a win. It's very unlikely that I would dislike it, but I still own them, and that's because the Spiel des Jahres games are amazing.
Yeah, I knew this was going to be on your
Sony.
list. I just thought it was going to be higher on your list.
That's true.
I have 3 others that outrank it.
All right, Bryce, you're up.
All right, so it's kind of it's a publisher type thing for me, but mine is Prospero Hall. Honestly, if it's got that name on there, I will buy it. Now I have gotten rid of a couple Prospero Hall games already, but again, it's because I know other people have a copy of it, or it just doesn't get to the table like I wanted it to. I.e., the Funko Pop or Funkoverse games. Wife really wasn't into it. I know you guys are more in I know Danny has everything, but Daniel likes Unmatched a little bit more. So it's just one of those that that was the only thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No. Prospero Hall was on my short list. They're actually not on my list right now, but yeah, they were probably my number 6. If we did the full 8 that we normally do, they would have been in the top 8.
And if you would have asked me 6 months ago, they probably would have been on my list as well. I've had quite a few games of theirs that I didn't like recently, and now they are not on my list anymore. So I'll look into it still. There's a good odds. But I'm not killing myself over it.
Alrighty, so me, right?
Yep. Number 3.
This is my first designer on the list here, and it's one me and Daniel over there talk about all the time. One that has older games that I want to collect, but I ain't paying that price for them. But they're getting some reprints of some of those games that I've been looking forward to, and I'm looking really forward to them as well. And that is Stefan Feld. The big thing about here is I really, really want to get some of those older games, but when you have like Bora Bora going for $150 when it's getting a reprint. I'm gonna go take the reprint and just get the newer version. And honestly, the Queen game reprints are really nice looking, so I can't complain on that aspect of it. So yeah, Stefan Feld is an instant buy for me. Anything I don't own everything. I haven't got Carpe Diem because I played it. I had issues with the color blindness. Now the white box that came out, which is I think their third edition, I'll probably end up picking up that copy because I can see it a lot better. I don't have my favorite yet, Trajan. Again, that goes along with the kind of situation where it's like if someone else owns it, do I really, really need it? But I really, really want it. So we'll see what happens.
You know what? I'm going to straight up interrupt you. Normally, I'd make comments for it, but my number 3 also Stefan Feld. Believe it or not, only number 3 though for me. And I know a few months ago that probably would have been number 1, but yeah, same thing, exactly what you said. I own probably 2/3 of all of his games. I don't blame you for not owning It Happens. That game was not very good. The football game, I can't imagine is that good. But, you know, anytime he says he's making something, I have my ear open because I want to try it. I know recently, a couple of years ago, he said that he was working on like a tabletop war miniatures game. And which immediately intrigued me going, go on, okay. But tell me I might have to get into minis all of a sudden. We'll see. But yeah, if he made it, yeah, it's almost a guarantee that I'm in. That was my number 3 also, Stefan Feld.
All right, Bryce, you're number 2.
All right, my number 2 is going to be it's a theme, and it's Harry Potter. If it comes out with Harry Potter, I'm buying it. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I mean, yeah, like I have been burned a couple times. One of them being, I mean, it was a good worker placement game. I just think they needed to do a little bit more on the visual of it was my only thing. But I mean, it was an above average game for me. But again, I picked it up because it was Harry Potter. And but yeah, anything Harry Potter, I will pick it up and instantly and try. The only thing I didn't pick up, it was just because I couldn't swing the money for it because it was being kickstarted in England, was the Quidditch game. And I oh gosh, I wanted that game so much.
Yeah, it looks
so
so good, but when it was like just for what is it, 2 houses? I think it was just the Gryffindor and the Ravenclaw house. It was $150. If you wanted the other 2 houses, it was like $300, and that's pounds. It's not dollars.
Yeah. And I couldn't swing that, and I was afraid if it was a dud, but that was the one I wanted, but I just couldn't swing the money at the time just to even get the base game and then hopefully add on some games or pieces before it was over. But I couldn't do it.
No, that's a good pick.
But if it hits retail, I'm definitely.
Yeah, it was on my short list. Harry Potter was on my short list because my wife has a great time with them. I really like the deck builder. I did enjoy the worker placement one that you're talking about. I think it's the House Cup Challenge or whatever. It was really, really good.
Yep.
It's just, yeah, like you said, the visuals were very bland. Like they put all their money just into the beakers that had your point totals in it.
Yep. Yeah.
And the rest of it was just cardboard. And remember you said this about Pendulum's board where like the board is very bland. That Harry Potter one is worse than Pendulum's. It's just all text and it's very, very bland. And notice how he's not making a comment on it.
Okay, I'll make my comment. I will give Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle a lot of credit. That was the first Harry Potter game that I truly enjoyed playing. It was really good, and I'm sure Death Eater's Rising is probably good too because I like the other Rising games. That I like. What was the superhero version of it?
Thanos Rising.
Yeah,
Thanos.
I liked it, and I think that's why I appreciated that they moved it on to a different theme and that they did like Hogwarts Battle as Toy Story and Thanos Rising as like the Star Wars version and Death Eater Rising. I appreciated the fact that they did that just because obviously for fans like myself who don't like those IPs, they still had a good game that backed it up. So I'll give it that. And I did play the entirety of Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, and I did enjoy myself. So I'll give it that.
All right, so let's move on to my number 2. And we've talked about him through most of the podcast itself. Let's just not lie here. It's Phil Walker Harding. Everything I played of his has gone down so good, to the point where his games are so simplistic that it shouldn't be as good as they are. But it just really is. He simplifies that mechanism so well, puts great themes on top of them that you wouldn't think would work or just are random. Like Silver and Gold. Look at Silver and Gold. You're out there digging for treasure, in all honesty. That's the basics of the game. But it's so good. Archaeology, The New Expedition, great filler game, card game that I talk about a lot. Not to mention, we just recently talked about this. You picked it up. I bought it because I played Danny's version of it, and that's Summer Camp. He put a very simple theme of just going out to a summer camp and doing all the things that you do in a summer camp, where it's cooking, earning your badges, by cooking, playing outdoor games and stuff like that, and put a deck builder on top of that. And it sings so well. And so that's the thing I'm talking about. This is where I came up with the concept for Insta-Buy podcast, is because when we talked about summer camp and we talked with our group of friends there, and they're like, it's Phil Walker Harding. It's an instant. He's going on my shelf one way or another. And 3 or 4 people at that table all said that.
Yep. And I'm gonna absolutely agree with you 100% because my number 2, 3 reasons. Let's say it. Phil Walker
Harding.
No, Daniel, I swear you, it's like you copied my list because exactly what you said. Phil Walker Harding. He is the second most common thing I would buy. It's an Insta-Buy. And I'll explain why my number 1 is my number 1. But designer-wise, yeah. In fact, I proved that this last week by buying 2 of his games, sight unseen, with his name on it, knowing that he made it. So I had to buy it. And that was the 2 I talked about, Snakes and Super Mega Lucky Box.
Yeah,
it is so funny that once you guys started bringing up his name more and more, and I started looking at like games he made, I was like, oh, I own that. Oh, I own that. Oh, I own that. Oh, I own that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's funny because Barron Park is what really put him on the map. But I already owned Sushi Go. I owned another game of his that I didn't even realize I owned. And then I'm like, oh, Barron Park's really good. I'll put this. Then we played Gingerbread House. Oh my God, that was really good. And then it kept snowballing and snowballing. That like when I hear Phil Walker Harding coming out with a game, I'm like, just shut up and take my money. Let's just go.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I know. That was great, that game night when I said, hey guys, I'm gonna buy a game from Target. I know you guys just came over for the night to play games, but do you mind if we just take a pit stop? Which is not a short drive from my house, by the way. So it's at least a 15-minute, maybe 20-minute drive. And you're like, I'm like, I'm picking up Phil Walker Harding. They're like, and why are we waiting? Like, what's going on here? Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Brys, what is your number 2?
His number 1.
I did my number 2. Yeah, I started. I'm on 1.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
What's your number 1 Insta-Buy?
Eric Lang. Eric Lang makes a game. I'm buying it. There's no, I mean, you've got Blood Rage, Rising Sun. I'm waiting on my Onk. A couple over from that is Chaos Ball. I mean, he puts out a game. I had Dice Masters
Marvel
for a
United.
while, but I stopped doing that because it got,
Marvel United.
Marvel United, yeah, like it's got his name on it. I'm buying it because I'm going to enjoy the snot out of it. So.
All right, so I guess it's my turn for my number 1, and everybody in this podcast knows who it is, or what it is. So go ahead and say it, Danny.
I'm gonna guess either Jamie Stegmaier or Stonemaier Games.
It is Stonemaier Games. I own everything published by this company at this point in time. Now, a couple of them are on my shelf of shame or opportunity, however you want to describe it. But I've yet to miss with this company. Pendulum was a close one. I've only played the solo mode, so I can't really make a big judgment on it just yet. I do need to get to the table with more people. But it's always well produced. The work they've done into making the games more accessible for colorblind players has really made me a fan. except for Red Rising's Collector's Edition. That's where it got a little iffy with their colorblind prowess. I still can see it, but I can see why some people have difficulty with it. But yeah, Stonemaier, Scythe, Wingspan, Euphoria I haven't played yet, but Between Two Cities, Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, everything I played of it, I really, really enjoyed. And so when he says there's a game coming out, I'm pre-ordering it, getting it put in, as well as like any expansions. I own almost all the expansions for all the games I own. And to top it off, I'm also a Stonemaier champion. So,
well, Mr. Braggs over here, champion.
Well, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I think I'm a champion too. Yes. Yeah.
Hey, that 25% discount really helps.
And
yes,
I'm
it does.
Stonemaier loser. So no, Stonemaier, he's good. And ever since he was on the podcast, I didn't realize until that point how many of his games that I had played and how I've had a good time on every single one of them. I don't think there was one. There's some that I didn't have as much fun. Like I wouldn't buy it, but almost every game I've appreciated and I've enjoyed. Even like Red Rising, I know nothing about that whole universe, and that was a fun game. I would totally play it again.
All right, Danny, what's your number one?
So I offer both of you a challenge. Can either of you guess it?
I thought this was going to be the Spiel des Jahres.
Yep, that's a fair bet.
You've already said Feld and Phil Walker Hardy.
I'll give you a hint. It's a theme.
Magic?
Yep. Good job. Yeah. And here's why it's number one for me. I obviously love the Magic theme, and to clarify for our audience, not Magic like like casting spells and all that, like, and not Magic the Gathering. Although I do like that game. I'm talking like Magic, like magicians pulling rabbits out of hats and card tricks and stage.
Hey, they do that in Harry Potter. I'm just saying.
Cool. Anyway, but here's the reason why this had to be my number one over everything else. And that is because this is the only theme, designer, whatever, that I have honestly actively bought a game knowing it was really bad just because of the theme. I've owned probably more bad Magic themed games than I own good Magic themed games. Some of the people in the honorable mentions mentioned Mind Clash. And that's because Tricurion is a fantastic game. But I also backed Houdini's Poutini, which is a game where Houdini invites you over to a dinner party and his food is so bad you're using magic tricks to escape. It's like Hot Potato. It's really, I mean, it's okay, but I honestly backed it just because of the theme. And I'm kind of okay with that. Like I have one old Magic themed game called It's Magic game. And it says magic on the box 3 times. It's really weird. And then Funforge, the publisher, they came out with a game called Illugio, which is honestly just awful. It's really like one of the worst games ever. But that's the first game that got them started, and I think it's the only game that designer has designed, and probably good. Yeah, it was really rough, but I still own it, and in fact, it's right there on my shelf, and I'm never getting rid of it, but I'm probably never playing it again. So this had to be my number one.
So what you're saying, it's on your true shelf of shame.
It is.
Because you're
it's
shameful that you own it.
I can't get rid of it. I don't have it in me, but I have to do it. I have to keep it because it's a Magic themed game and nobody else would appreciate that theme quite as much as I do. So yeah, that's my number one Insta-Buy. Is even if it's bad, I'm probably still gonna spend money on it.
Well, that's our list. So what do you guys all think? Let us know down in the comments below on any of the different areas. We'll get to that in a little bit. But before we go, Brys, you have a TikTok. You mentioned it. So why don't you go ahead and plug it in right now?
Yeah, so I do videos on TikTok of small board game reviews and stuff like that. My handle is the Game Head Geek. I'm also on Instagram as the Game Head Geek. So if you guys want to follow me over there, I do more videos, and I actually just got access to 3-minute videos, so I can do a little bit longer videos now. So I'm excited.
Nice. And as always, it'll be in the description below on YouTube as well as on the podcast platform of your choice.
Good deal. So we definitely want to thank Brys for joining in. We appreciate you for fulfilling us with your commentary and your opinions on these games. This led to a good discussion. It's always good to have another, instead of me and Daniel just bashing our heads together, fighting over the same tried and true games. It's good to hear it from a good outside perspective. So
I know, because if I wasn't on this, your list would have been almost identical.
It very well might have been.
So yeah, 2 out of 5 that were exactly the same.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, oh my gosh.
I considered worker placement as a mechanism. I didn't have any mechanisms. It probably would have been tile placement, though, if I did.
And then the thing is, it wasn't just like the fact that the 2 out of the 5 games were the same. It was that they were in the same spot.
Yeah, you and I were in the same mindset when we made this list, I think. But yeah, we want to thank Brys for tuning in. And also, we want to thank Ithri and Creative Chaos for joining in on our chat, as always, and all of the people who commented on the Board Game Revolution group on Facebook for providing us with essentially your free content. We appreciate you. But no, in all seriousness, we love the discussions, and that's why we do this. If you ever want to join us on one of our live airings, you can join us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as all video re-uploads are found on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020. And if you like what we do here, there's 3 things that you can do to help us grow on that platform. Subscribe if you are not. Like the video and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject that we just talked about. As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean.
And if you ever want to shout out to us, say hi, or if you have an idea for a future episode, give us a shout out at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
As well as you can also get in contact with us on Twitter, on our official Twitter account at EBG Podcast. Also, we want to make a slight note before we sign off that since we were recording later now on Wednesdays for the time being, that the podcasts are going to be released from now on Fridays for the foreseeable future.
All right. So we want to thank you all for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And I'm here, Brys.
And thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
Have a good one.
Good night, everybody.